My name, again, for people that are joining today, my name is Paige Swanson. I'm a full-time software developer. I'm a full stack developer. I work on web applications for a financial tech company. They're based in Raleigh. They're called Abrigo. And I'm working with the library to do this like workshop, sort of like instructional series, just trying to teach people how to code or teach them about code if they don't know like what code is. And so that's kind of the point of these sessions. And in particular, we're going to be doing this series of 6 workshops ending in like the end of March. This is the 3rd one on how to build apps. So like, where do you get started? What kind of resources are out there for doing that? And like, what does the code look like for building apps, mobile apps in particular? But maybe, also cover a little bit of like web apps. So I wanted to review a couple of things in terms of like resources that you have available to you. I have office hours. I have them every Monday. Every Monday from, you can see here. So if you click this website, by the way, is going to be the website. I have a link posted on the website I'm going to show you next. And then also, I think Celeste is going to get this link out there on the library website so that everyone knows how to get here. But it's just calendly.com/coder NHFPL. And you can click the individual days on the calendar. Every Monday is when I have office hours, and they're 30-minute segments. You can sign up as soon as an hour ahead of each session. So, even if you remember it last minute, you can probably take advantage of like one of these blocks. So I'll have them next week. So just definitely keep that in mind, because I really want to help everyone out if you have like really specific questions. Okay. The next thing is that I have an email too. The email is here. So it's coder@NHFPL. Again, I'm gonna put this in my GitHub. Actually, if you scroll up in the chat, I already put it, the link to my GitHub, and I'll show you that in a second. This is posted there. So if you have like a question that I can answer via email, I'm happy to do it, and just send me an email. Okay. So the last thing is the site I was referring to. So this is GitHub. This is a website. It's a hosting platform in particular and largely for code. So what that means is I can post code here and it's visible publicly. So like all of you can see this website. So you can navigate here if you want to, if you go to github.com/Paige Swanson/library app starter. So here I've already uploaded a table of contents, and we're going to actually be adding some more stuff today through the kind of tutorials on how to use Git for your own code. We're going to try to get to that today. And I also posted the links that I just went through. So this is the email that you can reach me at, and this is the Calendly sign up for the office hours. So everything you need going forward will kind of be here, and then you can get to this from the library calendar page too. This table of contents, if you look at these, this is like the content map that we went through for each class, each session so far. So today we're going to be going through number 3. I think I have some updates for this actually since I posted it last night. I'll get those updated so that after the class you can review it. And maybe we'll actually just go ahead and update it during the class so we can see how to use this website. Okay, all of that being said, on to the next portion. So I wanted to just really quickly highlight some resources. And if I go to the table of contents here again, and I go to session 3, which is today, I can go ahead and click some of these links. And speaking of which, I guess I almost forgot that I need to keep that open while we work. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this up. And you can follow along from this. I might just talk about some additional stuff, but you can follow along from this page if you want to. But I'll go ahead and pull it up so that we can we can take a look at it. Okay, so this is the first thing I wanted to kind of go through is these resource recommendations. I made these recommendations last class, and I just want people to have like links to them so that they can use them for themselves. The first one is Javascript Dot Info. This is a fantastic resource for learning JavaScript, which is the kind of core language that we're going to be using throughout the course. Again, like this, I can't recommend this resource enough. It has an overwhelming amount of information on how to use JavaScript, and it's pretty beginner friendly. And then the next thing I wanted to kind of bring up is this Nature of Code book here. So I'm just going to open that and show you really quick. So it's this book that this person wrote, Daniel Schiffman, but it's fully accessible online. You can also buy a copy of the book itself, but you can just read it online for free. And it's fantastic for just learning how to code in general and how to like understand very real problems, models of the world using code. So I just wanted to kind of get those out there and give you links to them so that you can use it as a resource for yourself. Okay, all right. So the next order of business, we're going to talk about using a code editor. So what is a code editor or an IDE? So you'll often hear this term IDE. So an IDE is an integrated development environment. So the point of using an integrated development environment is it's basically like a souped up or like a very powerful text editor for writing code. The main things that it's going to do for you is it's going to kind of like, it has context awareness about like the code that you're writing, the type of code you're writing, and it allows you to use a variety of tools, just like you would with like a word processor like Microsoft Word, for editing code very quickly. So, you know, just like in Microsoft Word, how you can format paragraphs and indent things very quickly with a code editor, a proper code editor, or an IDE. You can also do sort of code related things very quickly. I'm going to recommend two of them. This first one, and these are both like considered pretty lightweight IDEs, mainly because you don't really need a full featured IDE for JavaScript code in particular. There's a lot of reasons for that, but the ones I'm recommending are like in ascending order, pretty lightweight to like, this one's a bit heavier, but we're going to check out Atom first. I like recommending this one. It's really simple to use. It is customizable, and it integrates well with GitHub, the site that I was demonstrating, this site. I'll go ahead and close this. The site that I was demonstrating earlier, where I'm going to be hosting the code for this course. So it's a great tool. It has a lot of different features and functionalities, and it's open source and free. You don't have to pay for it or anything like that. So it's a pretty cool tool. It's easy to download and like get started with. The next one I'll recommend, and that I'm going to be using today because of a few things in particular with Nativescript. And I don't know if this will hold, but they claim to have a really nice Nativescript extension for Visual Studio Code, which is this editor. Visual Studio Code, I'm just going to the home page here, is another IDE that's lightweight, and it's also open source, and it's free. It runs on any platform like Windows, Linux, Mac OS. So you can use it in a variety of places, and it's really great for JavaScript. It also has a ton of, different tools that you can download to help you write code. So this is like another editor that I'll recommend. Yeah, it's made by Microsoft. So I'm going to be using that because our technology that we decided to adopt for writing apps, called Nativescript, which we'll talk about again some more in a second here. They actually built an extension for Visual Studio Code that we'll take a quick look at. And it claims to do a handful of things that make kind of like building apps using Nativescript a bit easier. So I was kind of interested in trying that out. I might go back to using Atom, but it doesn't matter too much. I won't do anything that I don't tell y'all about as we're like on the Zoom call. So those are just some recommendations there. And yeah, it offers a lot of features inspired by Visual Studio. Visual Studio is like the more commonly known IDE. So there's Visual Studio Code and then Visual Studio Code and then Visual Studio. Those are two different applications. And Visual Studio is a lot older. It's been around a long time, and it's pretty well liked by a lot of people. Okay, so let me check my notes. I just wanted to mention, by the way, that I use Visual Studio Code at work. There's a lot of stuff that I can do that's useful for building like large-scale web applications. Yeah, well, you know what? Let me just go ahead and show you my version of Visual Studio Code right now. So that I can show you this extension that is talking about. So hopefully you can see my code screen here. I think you can. Yeah, I'm going to assume that you can. Okay, so this is Visual Studio Code. I basically just like installed it and I opened it, and this is like what you get. Like this is just the home page. So if we're taking a look here, there's these like tools and languages and settings and key bindings sections here. But if we go over to, I think it's tools and languages. Yes, exactly. Okay. So it's popped up automatically here, this like extensions side view. And again, you don't have to follow along with me right now. This is just like, so in the future, hopefully, if you try downloading it, it'll like jog your memory, and you can check this stuff out on your own time. But you can see here, I already have it installed, but there's a Nativescript extension. So if you just search Nativescript, it'll come up. Obviously, it was already up. And see, it's made by Nativescript, the developers behind Nativescript. And so it supposedly offers a handful of things, particularly for debugging our apps. So like walking through our code and like figuring out what's going on with it. And it allows you to like basically edit some code, and then from your editor, like from the place we're actually writing the code, we can also run the app on the phone once we get to that stage. We won't be doing that today, like running on a specific platform. I'm going to be starting on my own platform next time, but we will be previewing on the phone using our computer. So I think this is going to be pretty helpful, so I wanted to try it out. But there's a lot of extensions like this for all kinds of development. For instance, if you're into like Unity, like game development or anything like this, if you know what this is, there's a variety of tools for this. Oh, and one last thing I wanted to mention, there's another Nativescript extension here. I didn't download this one, but yeah, we're using specifically Nativescript View. There's a Snippets extension here that's pretty popular. And it basically lets you auto-generate specific pieces of Nativescript View code. So that's really useful. It was updated pretty recently as just last year, spring of last year. So it stays relatively up to date. So we might also check this out, and it's just going to basically provide us with a bunch of helpful pre-made pieces of code that we can use while we're coding. This is another huge advantage of building of using an integrated development environment like this. I'm actually going to install this now, and so it's ready to go. when we open our code in a second here. So I'm going to just go back to the, let me just close window, I think. OK. All right. So I'm going to go back to the browser here so we can go back to our content map. OK, so we talked about integrated development environments. Next section we're going to go into is this kind of big section here. So I usually don't like to be this verbose with the table of contents. But in this case, I think it's helpful because I tried to basically walk through the instruction process of setting up everything you'll need to write code on your computer. And I tried to provide detail where I thought it would be useful for people following along at home or coming back to this later and like maybe running into some problems. So what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to walk through why you need some of the things you do for installation and how to get them. And maybe if you run into any trouble on your machine, hopefully this like lesson will be helpful. And we're also going to put together a template application that is just like a from scratch sort of simple application that's a little more complicated than the one we looked at last time. And we're going to preview it again, except this time we're going to do it all on our computer. We're not going to use the website like we did last time. If you don't really follow what I'm meaning by preview, that's OK. You're going to see me do it, so that's all right. So I want to cover this section first. So to get set up locally, developing a Nativescript View application. And again, Nativescript View is the platform we're using to develop our apps. We're about to visit the website for Nativescript View, the documentation website. So you kind of see, again, what I'm talking about there. But we're going to need these kind of three major components in order to do this, in order to get started sort of like developing locally. These major components, I mean, might sound familiar to some of you, but if they don't, that's OK too. So the first one here is a pretty popular one. It's called Node.js. Node.js is basically a JavaScript engine. So it's like an engine or like, it's typically called a runtime environment. So what does that mean? The most typical runtime environment for JavaScript is the browser. So the browser is the most common runtime environment for JavaScript. That means like when I load a page, a web page that has some JavaScript code, the browser like is taking the code and it's running it. So there's like a special set of code that's been written to run the JavaScript code on the web page. That's what allows a lot of these web pages you use to function. It allows the JavaScript to run. So Node.js in particular is a way for us to run JavaScript code outside of the web browser. So we found over time this really high demand for using JavaScript code, typically a web code outside of the browser and onto different platforms like the phone, but also like on a variety of other things. So Node.js has become really popular for allowing us to create JavaScript code outside of the browser. Node.js comes with this tool you'll hear me reference called NPM. That's Node Package Manager. So with this runtime environment that's going to let us run our JavaScript code, we are provided a variety of different packages or tools with pre-written or pre-packaged JavaScript code, so that if we have something that we need to accomplish with some JavaScript that's like a common task, we can use one of these packages, just like how you would download like a calendar application or something. If you need to use a calendar, like you won't make your own calendar necessarily, you would use something maybe that's already out there that's like that works well and is pretty robust. Okay, so that's the point of this Node.js here. The second thing is here is this Nativescript CLI. So as I mentioned, we're using Nativescript, which is like a technology platform for building applications. The Nativescript CLI is just a tool that we're going to use on our computer to set up our Nativescript apps. And it's going to help us do a variety of things. It's going to help us like build the apps. So it's going to allow us to like package the code together to run on the phone. It's going to let us build the app for Android or for iOS, or it'll allow us to preview it, which we can do on any platform with some limitations. It also has a bunch of other really useful features that we can take advantage of. And then the last thing that we'll be getting today is the Vue CLI template. So the Vue CLI template, and when I say CLI, that's referring to client. So just think Nativescript client, or I'm sorry, not client, command line interface. And maybe I can write that out when I update the notes. So Nativescript command line interface. That's like a command line tool. And I'll show you the command line shortly when we start walking through kind of what we'll need to install all of this stuff. In that case, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start sharing just my desktop, I think. So it'll be a bit easier to see what's going on. Just forgive me if I I don't know, if I get a bunch of notifications or something. Hopefully that won't happen though. Okay, so you should be able to see the full desktop now, which means I'll be able to show you my command line where I'm using these tools. And in particular, this Vue command line template, command line interface template, is a package we're going to get that lets us like build some quick apps with like a scaffolding or like a kind of like a template that gets us started very quickly. So it'll have like tabs, or it'll have a bunch of UI elements already created for us. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with what we need to set up locally. I'm going to go through it a little bit quickly, mainly because I just want to provide a resource for you to be able to follow along at home and set this up for yourself ahead of the next session. So the first thing we're going to do is go to this page. I bookmarked it last time, so I'm going to go to my bookmark and just click Docs Nativescript View. I'm going to go here. So it's going to take me to this introduction page. I think I said last time, like this is going to be like our home page. I'm just going to check the chat. Okay, great. This is like our home page for working with Nativescript Vue. So, there's Nativescript, which is the platform we're using to build apps. Nativescript Vue is the particular flavor of that platform. It's going to change the way our code looks and the way we write the code. But yeah, actually, I don't know why I'm saying this, because it's explained pretty well right here. So if you have any questions about what I mean and the distinguishing factors between Nativescript and Vue, I think this is a really good section to read. Okay, but we're going to jump straight to, and I'm going to switch tabs back here. We're going to go to this next part here, and we're going to jump to installing Node.js and the Nativescript CLI. So these two things right here. So we're going to visit the installation link in the left-hand sidebar, and we're going to follow the instructions for our system or our platform. So we're going to click installation on the left. And there's a bunch of prerequisites for each of these items. You'll notice the two that I mentioned before. And then it notes that for platform-specific stuff, like if you want to develop a particular application for a particular type of phone, you'll follow these instructions. We're not going to go this far today because I just want to generate a preview. And I'm probably not going to do like an in-depth session, mainly because I don't that'll only be helpful to people that have, in my case, a Mac. But please, if you want help with that, just come to my office hours and I'll be happy to sit and help you get that set up. So note that for Windows, you can only develop Android applications. For macOS, you can develop both. And for Linux, you can only develop Android applications. So just kind of keep those things in mind. I think there are ways to like, I mean, technically, the good thing with Nativescript is you can actually develop whatever kind of application you want, but you just won't be able to like build or like finish the application. Like you don't need to write 2 sets of code for Android and iOS. That's what we're using Nativescript for. Like that's the huge advantage of Nativescript is we write like one piece of code for the app that we want on any platform. But if you use Windows, you can't you won't be able to generate the package that you'll put onto the phone, the iPhone, to like use the app. So that's the big distinguishing factor. So we're going to scroll down to Node.js here, and we're going to kind of follow these instructions. I've already done this, but if you go here, you're going to grab the you're going to grab the LTS version, which is the long-term support version of the Node.js like library. This just means like it's the most stable version of the application, and you'll just follow the instructions. It's just a simple installer. And what you're going to do is it mentions here to restart your terminal and verify the installation was successful. So I have a terminal up here. This is my terminal on Mac OS. It will differ for your system. If you're using Windows, and I'm going to check my notes again here because I wanted to mention something. Yeah, that's right. I just wanted to mention how to get to the terminal here in OS X if you're not familiar with that. So if you're on a Mac, the way to get to the terminal really fast or relatively fast is by going to go up. So if you just click away, click on like Finder or something, you can click Go, and you can go to Utilities. And if you scroll down, you'll see this icon. It's like Terminal. So if you click that, that will open this window. In my case, I clicked it, and it just like opened an existing window. On Windows, you have 2 options. You can use CMD, which is like command, like the command prompt. The way you do that is if you press the Windows key, it'll pull up a search function. And then you can just type in CMD, and it'll be like the first thing that pops up. If you click that, that's your terminal. However, I don't think that's like the most developer-friendly terminal especially for developing like JavaScript, like kind of like applications like this. What I recommend for people is, and I'll provide this link in the chat, or you can just follow me here. What I recommend, and I'm going to switch back to my notes here. What I recommend is for Windows, I would recommend Git Bash. So I'm going to grab this link. Oops. I recommend Git Bash. Git Bash is like a tool. It's like a command line tool that you can download for Windows. It includes Git, which we're going to explore in a few minutes here once we get our template set up. And it also includes Bash, which is like a command line system, or it's typically called like a shell, for interacting with applications on your computer through the command line. This is really nice because you can basically follow the same format of commands that I'm using on my computer. So I also just think it's really convenient and easy, and I think it's a great tool. If you're using Visual Studio Code, you can actually do this. They have a terminal built in, and I think you should be able to select Bash with that. So that's actually another way to use the command line interface. And in fact, maybe that would just be easier if we just used Visual Studio Code, because I think people could just like follow along with that. So I'll use this terminal. So the way I got here is I just said terminal up at the top, and I said new terminal, and that popped this up, and I'm just going to drag it all the way up. So this takes me to my home directory. And if we go back to my instructions here, close this new tab. I mentioned that for Node, we're going to visit the installation link and follow the instructions listed for your system. When we were following the instructions for Node, it asked us to check the version in the command line. So that's why I wanted to pull this up really quick. So you'll see on my system, if I type node version, it gives me a version number. So it says I have version 14.15.4. I think if you take a look, that should match the version. Yeah. Oh, I actually have one version behind. So I think they must have like updated it yesterday or something like that, or today, which is probably the case. I guess we can check that out, but I'm not really worried about it. You should be okay if it's like if you get a little bit behind on the version. Okay, the next instruction from this page is for us to install the Nativescript CLI, command line interface. So I already did this, but again, if you use the Node package manager, which I mentioned earlier, npm, if you install a package again, it's just going to like update it. It's okay if you install it again. It doesn't hurt anything. So I'll actually do it right now. So I'm going to say npm install g. When I'm typing this g, what it means is like global. So I'm installing the package globally. So Nativescript. Nativescript is the name of the package that we're installing, which is going to allow us to quickly produce our Nativescript apps. So I'm going to hit enter. And it should, I mean, it'll basically just try to update the package, the application again. And it's going to go through all these different steps, and you'll kind of see it do that. It's going to throw some warnings at us. These are okay. It's just telling you like these packages are old. That's kind of on Nativescript, like they need to update that. Yeah, it looks like they have got a couple of problems with their application. Unfortunately, this is really common with Node.js applications, them being out of date. So I'm going to let that run in the background. We'll let it finish up. And it just reminds us after to verify that installation was successful by running tns in your terminal. So we'll run that command afterwards. And again, these are system-specific setup instructions. I would follow the instructions for macOS because that's what I'm using. And I have an iPhone, so I would follow the setup instructions for Xcode so that I can develop iPhone applications. But again, we're not going to get into that part today because it is a little bit time consuming, and I want to get to the preview. So I'm going to close that for now because now we're set up with these two things. If you run into a problem on macOS with permissions, so we go back to the terminal. At this step, after I said npm install, when I first tried this, I actually got a permissions error. It said that it didn't have access to install this application. So I did a search and I found this documentation page. You don't need to worry about this if you were successful in running the command. But if you weren't, you can follow these steps here. So steps 1 through 6. You don't have to do this step. This is just having you test that it works. So really just steps 1 through 5. I did these steps and it worked again for me. I had to close the terminal and reopen it, but it did work to give me permissions again. Basically, it's setting your package storage, like the packages we go fetch and download, because that's what this is. Excuse me, sorry, wrong window. When I'm running this command, this code here, npm install g Nativescript, it's going to the internet and downloading this package, this application Nativescript. When you do that, it was it's putting it by default in like a not user specific place. I don't know if that really makes sense, but if you run into this problem, basically you can visit this link, which I've provided in the table of contents, and hopefully it'll help you with your issue. If you're on Windows, I don't think this should happen to you. I don't think people have that experience. Okay, so the next thing we're going to grab, the last thing we're going to grab so that we can generate our template is we're going to grab this view command line interface template package. Okay, so we're going to go back to the docs page, which I bookmarked for myself, but remember it's just docs in introduction. We're going to go back to this page, and this time it wants to click quick start, the quick start link on the left. You could kind of get around to where I've been just using quick start, but it just kind of takes you in some weird places. Like if you click quick start, you can then click this, and it takes you to installation, and then you have to like go back. So that's the only reason I covered installation first. So if we go back to quick start now, it's saying we already have our system ready for native development, which we do for the most part. We've installed the Nativescript command line interface, so you've successfully installed. And now we can start using the view CLI template. I'm going to click this link because this is going to give us the installation instructions for this template. We could actually start writing some Nativescript code before this, but the template is going to set us up with a very simple, basic scaffolded app that we can get started using right away. Okay. So, oh yeah, thanks for, yeah. By the way, looks like, okay, yeah, I was checking the Q&A there, making sure there's no questions. Yeah, this, I can go back here and just show really quick that in case anyone didn't follow. The way I got here is like from this GitHub page that I shared originally, table of contents, session 3. This is session 3. I can maybe update these to like dates or something. That might be a little more helpful. So I'll probably do that. And then, yeah, I'm just clicking. I don't even have to click raw. So maybe we'll just stay on this view since I think it's it looks a little nicer maybe. So we're back down here looking at the view CLI command line interface template package. We went to the docs page and we clicked quick start, and we clicked the view CLI template link, and we're going to follow the instructions below the usage heading. Okay, so this is the usage heading here. You'll notice also this is on GitHub. A lot of people host their code on GitHub. It's a very common place for hosting code. So this is the view command line interface template package, and this is how we're going to use it. So it's a way of scaffolding a quick application project. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to install the new packages that we're going to need that are going to provide us with the templates that we want to use. So I'm going to go back to my terminal. This command should look really similar. Last time we used the code npm install gnativescript. Now we're going to use some new code. I made an addendum to this command personally. So I recommend running this command instead of running this. Sometimes if developers don't like maintain their packages, like their pieces of code they want to share with you in certain ways, like the npm system will basically fetch not the latest version of the package, and also the dependencies for that package, meaning like other pieces of code that package needs to work. So a dependency, a good example of a dependency here is like these items. So like when we tried to install Nativescript, all of these other items had to get installed. These are dependencies. So like Nativescript, this package depends on these package. And npm is letting us know that these particular dependencies like have a problem. It's not a big enough problem that it didn't install, but like it's a little bit of a problem. Oh, and by the way, I guess there's like all these nice little things here. links for you to follow once you install it. So that's pretty cool. Great. Okay. So what I'm going to do, and I should have done this for Nativescript, to be honest, but I didn't. So it's okay. I'm going to copy this command. And you'll notice the difference is that I have this little @ symbol at the very end of each that says @latest. So what that's saying is like, go install these packages, view cli and view cli init, okay? Install them globally and install the latest versions of the package. So that's why you see me doing it a little bit differently. So I'm going to press enter as it recommends again. And you know, we're super used to this. You know, it's just gonna run in the background. So I'm just gonna let it run in the background. I don't really have to interact with it. And we're gonna keep following our instructions. So for these packages, I mentioned like using the latest. Oh, and I wanted to include this note. Remember, I talked about the permissions errors issue. If you have that issue at this point, once you install these packages, like the ones that are running right now, you may actually need to update the file that you created as part of the instructions from these permissions errors issues. You may have to update that file, or not update it, but like run this command again. All of these commands are just running in the same place. Like you don't have to run them in a different place unless it tells you otherwise. Okay, so let's assume, you know, this finishes. Assuming this finishes, for me, it's just updating really, because I already have them installed, but it's no problem for me to run it again. The next thing we're going to do, which is just described here, we're going to run this init command. So basically, when we installed these, that gave us access to this view command. We're going to say view init, and we're going to say Nativescript view cli template, which is the thing that we've been working to get, project name. You see these brackets, what it means is it's saying like you provide that information. So project name meaning like, what do you want to call your project? I think there's another way we can actually do this that's pretty a little more interactive. I hope we can try it. Let's see if it finished installing. I'm going to full screen this. Okay, it did finish installing. So it says here, yeah, so here's the command I ran, npm install, the latest. Okay, so it basically updated all these packages. It told me again, there's like all these problems apparently. That's okay, it's not the end of the world. And it tells us, by the way, at the very end, the versions for those packages. So I've already installed them, but at this point, what I would recommend is when you install a new package like that globally, click exit, close the terminal. It's going to bring you to a new terminal. This kind of ensures that you'll be able to access the packages that you just installed. And if you look here, it says I actually can't use view for some reason. Let me X out of here. This happened to me yesterday. I might need to run this command actually that I set for myself. Let me give it a try. If this doesn't work, I'll try using the Visual Studio terminal. I really hope people in the class don't have the same problems that I'm having. Okay, it worked, so that's good. I'm glad. Okay, so you can see now I have the view command. It recognized it. Before you run init, like it recommends here under usage, before you run this, you can just run view to kind of see what options are available to you. So we can this time run version, and it'll tell us the version of view. Specifically, this isn't like all of view. This is like a command line tool that they made for using view code, which we're going to be using to build our application. So there's all these different like all these different little tools that this command line interface provides for creating view apps quickly. The one I wanted to try out just really quick to see if it works is the View UI. The View UI will actually give us a browser window here, which is opening right now, to actually build our project with like a GUI, so we don't have to use the command line necessarily, and that's pretty nice. Like I think it's really cool that it does this because it makes it like a lot easier in some cases to like to work on stuff just when you can click around. I'm gonna hop in here because at this point we're at the point where we want to actually create our little project. So I said to run the init command, which will set up the template code. That'll do everything from the command line interface, which you can do, but I want to try out this UI to see if it'll let us use the templates we're trying to install. I'm going to create my project in here. You can see I'm kind of cheating. I already made a project last night, but I'm going to try clicking this. And I want to see if it just gives me the option to use the template that I want. But let's go ahead and give the project a name. So this will be like first library app or something, or maybe like sample library app. So at this point, we're deciding what the name of our app is, just like for ourselves on our computer. We're going to use NPM. These other package managers are great too, but like that's the one I've introduced and what we're kind of familiar with. This is letting us, like, we can tell it to like get rid of an application folder named this if we already have one. I don't, so it doesn't matter. And this will actually build the project with some beginner instructions. So let's, you might want to do that if you're experienced, but let's leave it because that seems pretty interesting. This will also initialize a Git repository for us for this project. I'm not going to do that for mine because I'm kind of cheating again. I'm actually in a Git repository on my computer right now, which I'll show you hopefully if we have enough time. I'm not going to do that because, like I said, I'm already in one. But you might want to do that even if you don't know about what it is yet. That's okay. Okay, this is like stuff related to like the versions of Vue. It's gonna, yeah, we're just gonna pick the default here. We don't want to use like Vue 3 or anything yet. I'm a little bit hesitant. I don't actually know if this is gonna give us the template we want to use. So I sometimes you deviate from your instructions and you hope it'll provide an easier path, but I think in this case maybe it's just going to make a normal old Vue app and we won't get the option to make a Nativescript Vue app, which is what I was trying to do. That's okay because in the meantime, in the background, that's okay. We'll open a new terminal. That's the great thing about terminals. You can just open new ones. Yeah, so that was not exactly what I wanted, but in case you're interested, you could make a Vue app using just the GUI there, which is pretty cool. Let's go back to my instructions though, under usage, and just do the Nativescript cut and dry app, because I don't want to like deviate too much, and I want people to be able to use this recording with our last few minutes here to like set up a Nativescript preview. Okay, so we're just going to run this command verbatim here in our new terminal. So all I did was like I just opened a new terminal window. Okay, and I'm going to run this piece of code, this command, except I'm going to make a new project name. Oh, and actually what I want to do, I want to run this command in a particular location. The way I change locations is with the command cd, so it means change directory. If you're on a Mac, you can do this, or Windows too, I think. You can open Finder you can navigate to the location you want to make the installation in. I'm going to go to this place, Library App Starter. I'm going to make yet another folder in here, but for now, I'm just going to drag this folder name, and it'll let me do that. So cd users, I'm just going to jump to this directory. I want to run the command in here because it's actually going to make my project. So I'm going to copy the command again. I'm just copying it, and I'm going to paste it. And I'm going to name the project. I'm going to make sure not to name it what we named it for this thing we have going on in the background, I guess, which is doing a lot of work. So I'm not going to name it Sample Library App. For this much simpler one, I'm just going to name it like Quick Library Template. Okay. Oh no, it didn't like the command again. I don't know why that is. Let's try going back to just the normal terminal. Please don't be intimidated by any of my follies, by the way. I can absolutely help you with all of this stuff. If you have problems with it and you're not able to like get started, please don't worry, and you can just come to my office hours and I'll help you get this stuff set up. But we'll get there in a second. So again, I'm gonna just open my terminal application, and I'm gonna navigate to this directory where we want to create our project. This can be anywhere for you. For me, it's in this library app starter folder. And then I'm gonna run the command again by just pasting it. We're gonna rename the project Quick Library App. Oh, and it still doesn't like it. Why is that? I think maybe I have to run this command. That's really annoying. Okay, that's what it is. So for future reference, you may have to run this command every time you start up a new terminal. Just word to the wise. And I bet it, yeah, so now it works. Okay, if you have that problem in the first place. Okay, so I'm going to run the command now, and it's going to generate this template, this Nativescript template application. And it's going to start walking us through some instructions. So if everyone can kind of see that, I don't, yeah, okay, I can zoom in. There we go. Okay, if everyone can see that, it's going to start asking me some questions about like some parameters for my app. I'm going to quickly run through these because I know we're at the end of time. But I'm going to take the next couple of minutes or so, at least to get you started on the preview, so you can see kind of what you can do once you reach this step. So name of the project will just be Quick Library App. I just hit enter to let it know like that name is fine. Here's the description. You can change this, but I'm fine with that description. The application name, this would be like the formal name for your app. I'm fine with this because I don't need it permanently. This is the unique identifier. You, again, probably want to make this unique or something personal, but again, I don't mind for now. Project version, just 1.0. That's my name and my personal email. License. The default is just MIT. That's a type of license for like open source projects. You'll see an MIT license actually on my code website. So if we go back here to the library app starter repository, this is a repository. You'll see there's a license in here. This is actually an MIT license. And you can read about like what that license means. It's good to read about licenses for open source code if you can before picking one, especially if you have an application in mind that's going to have some longevity. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is select the programming language we're going to be using for this project. So I'm just using the arrow keys here to switch between them. We're going to use JavaScript. This is where we're getting into like how our app is going to look. These are a bunch of different presets that'll help us kind of like quickly throw together some UI elements that we can get started with without having to like write all of that code ourselves. I haven't looked at the tab view or the simple. I'm going to try the tab view this time. And this is asking if I want to install Vuex, which does state management. It's a little bit more complex than what we need right off the bat. So I'm going to say no. I don't want to install Vue dev tools right now. Those are just tools to help us like debug Vue applications. We don't need that right now. This is going to let us set up a color scheme for our app. Like I'm going to pick lemon. I don't really know what that's. That honestly might just be like for our local development, because I just noticed that that looks like lemon. But we are ready to go, and it already gave us example commands here for previewing the template that we just created with these commands, with this command here and these answers to these questions. I was really hoping that this website we pulled up in the back, yeah, this stuff. I mean, it does look really cool. Wow. Yeah, there's like a lot going on here. If I might try to learn more about this, and if I can figure out how it works a little bit more deeply, I think this seems like a really great thing to use because it looks a lot easier for like managing stuff about your application if you could like use this, which I don't see why not. But anyway, maybe that's something for the future. So this was, I got here by just typing in the command view space UI. And that basically pulled up this whole dashboard for my new project. So I think that's pretty cool, but I'm not really ready to do something like that right now. So I'm going to open, and I'm just going to kill this here by typing in Control-C and killing this GUI here. Yeah, I don't think we really need that right now. I'm going to exit out of that too. Okay, so we're going back, not to get distracted. Again, I know it's the end of the session, but I really just want to show this preview if I can really quick. The last things we need to do to get our preview ready for our template. So like this command series just generated a bunch of code for us. Like an app is ready to go. The code is ready to go. We're now going to use Nativescript, the Nativescript command line interface. So let me go back to my content map. So the thing I downloaded here, the Nativescript command line interface, we're going to use that to preview our app. The first thing we need to do is run these few commands. So we're going to cd into our application folder. So change directory. Okay, so we did that. It tells me I'm now in that directory. We're going to run npm install. We used npm install earlier to install specific packages, but with a particular folder setup, like if you have a package ready to go that you're sitting in the directory for, you can consider our little app template here a package. When you run this, it's going to install all the dependencies for that package. So that's why it's recommending we use npm install. So it built this template with a bunch of code pre-made, ready to go for us. We're going to run npm install, which will update all of the packages required for the template. And then after we do that, we're going to do the very last thing, which is to run ns preview. Ns is referring to Nativescript. So Nativescript preview. That's going to generate the preview, which for those that were in the last session, folks will remember that I used 2 apps on my phone for either Android or iOS, whichever you have. You can download these two apps, Nativescript Playground and Nativescript Preview, and you can basically now generate previews on your computer directly from the code that you're writing on your computer. So this is really great if you're still not quite ready to jump to a specific platform like Android or iOS yet. You can still generate these previews. And I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I'm going to run ns preview so we can generate the preview from our template app. And so I recommend doing that here as part of the next instruction. And I already talked about npm install after we navigated to the new project folder. And it's actually going to generate a QR code it's going to generate this QR code, which everyone is welcome to snap a picture of if you're still on. So I'm actually going to do that on my phone right now. As unfortunately, the last thing that we're going to do, it looks like we might have to get to some GitHub stuff next week, though that's okay. I think it should be quick to kind of cover. So I've got the app open on my phone, which actually I totally forgot. Okay, well, people won't be able to capture this QR code yet, but maybe you still can. I don't know. I'll probably see you doing it if you do it down here. Yeah. Oh, it looks like someone already did it. Okay, great. So that's good. So you're probably seeing the preview for the View app. Someone already took a snapshot. I'm going to start sharing my phone screen because I found out I can do that last week. So you can see me doing it on my phone. So I've got the app open right now on my phone. That's what I'm sharing on my screen. I'm going to click this button. It's going to pull up my camera, move this out of the way, and I'm going to go over the QR code. You see it's switching apps. It's switching to the Preview app. Okay, it's switching to the Preview app, but what it needs to do is actually prepare a new preview. So that's why you see it switching again. It's preparing the tab preview. Notice the app actually changed. So it looks like a different app now. The app is not the same as it was before. This is a tab-based app. Remember when we were setting up the preview with the Nativescript command line interface, we selected tab view. Okay, this is just spitting out tons of information. Right now, it's spitting out all kinds of stuff because everyone is running the preview, which is awesome. It's super cool that people are doing that. I'll try to go scroll all the way back up to the QR code so that other people can take advantage of that in case they get the app up. And I'll zoom out a bit and I'll share my screen again. But it looks like that's going to be like pretty much the end of our session. I know we got a little bit sidetracked with setting up the local development environment, but I think this is really important. Last time we were working in the browser will get you pretty far, but it's not going to get you as far as like really writing code specific to a platform. Now you're halfway there. So like you can do previews. The next step is going to be setting up stuff specific for your platform. So like specific to Android. And remember, the way that you're going to do that is you're going to go here and you're going to click installation and you'll just go to your specific operating system. And I know we're well over time at this point, but I think that covers about everything that we can get to today. I hope that was like informative. I hope you now know more about what you need to do to like get started with your own local development. So thanks for listening and thanks for joining.
I think it was great.
Awesome. Yeah. Great.
Yeah. Can you, Paige, repeat one more time your office hours?
Yes, I can. So what I'll do is actually show you again the GitHub page. So this is library app starter. So Paige Swanson / library app starter. And on this page, I have this little README. It has my contacts and my email. You can email me any questions you have and my office hours sign up link. you can click that and see every day that I have office hours. It's every Monday from 6:30 to effectively 9 p.m. So these are each 30-minute, or sorry, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. So feel free to sign up for any of these blocks. I think you can even sign up for multiple blocks. So feel free to do that every Monday.
Perfect. And then I just want to mention all these sessions are going to be recorded as well, are recorded. So you can see them in YouTube later on or in Facebook.
Yep.
All
Awesome.
right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, everyone. I think that's it.
That's it.
See you
All right,
next time.
so bye. I'm gonna.
Okay, bye.
Thank you. Bye.